High above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphone so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. We can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And one of my loyalist sponsors is the Desert Heart Foundation and Dr. Ted Goldfinger, who has been incredibly generous and allowed me to do a myriad of interviews, radio interviews, as they relate to heart health and its correlation to moderate wine consumption. And there's a lot more into it, but I've been able to connect with a lot of individuals who were part of the original family wine growers in Napa Valley. And these are in many ways Renaissance men. They either took the torch from their fathers or grandfathers or even great-grandfathers, and or in fact inherited land that had been torched by an incredibly bad fire in the 1960s and turned the land around, and now it has become something out of a fairy tale. And I get a chance today to talk to another guy. His story different, like everybody else's. Born in San Francisco, but really almost I'd rather let him tell his own story. Sattui Winery's owner, Dario Sattui, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Well, thank you, Jake. Thank you for including me.
That's an honor. We're dealing with this. I mean, call me naive, but we're dealing with this caravan of people that are coming up from South America right now, that are coming to the States, and I am like very perplexed about this idea that we are a nation, we're a nation of immigrants, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about the best you can. How your great-grandfather assimilated in the United States and how he was received when he came here.
Okay. My great-grandfather came from a little village in the mountains near Genoa, and he, as his father was before him, was a village baker, but there was a lot of poverty. He saw no future there. Some of my Italian relatives have told me, and perhaps it's true, the best Italians left Italy. They were ambitious, they were courageous, they were hardworking, and many prospered. So around the tip of South America, they went with his brother. Brother got so seasick, he got off in Lima and founded a big family. Most of my relatives are in Chile.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
And then my great-grandfather came to San Francisco, settled, of course, in North Beach, the Italian community, and he became a baker, but he made wine on the side. There was still a fair amount of single miners in the late 1800s, and his wife Katerina did laundry and made meals, and he sold wine. And 3 years after coming, he was able to start a small winery. Eventually, they moved to another part, a foreign part of San Francisco, where there were Irish and Germans, and they were very much looked down upon, the Italians. I have another story. A.P. Giannini founded the Bank of Italy, which eventually became the Bank of America. It was the world's largest bank at one point. He was in the produce business with his father down in the peninsula below San Francisco. He went to an Irish bank to ask for a loan. They wanted to expand their business. And the Irish banker said, basically, get out of here, you wop. And A.P. Giannini said, I'm going to start a bank next door. I'm going to put you out of business, and that'll be the end of the story. He didn't start a bank next door. He started it down the street on the other side and put the Irish bank out of business. And the rest of the story. Became the biggest bank in the world. Anyway, the Italians were and every new immigrant group was very much looked down upon by those who held the social and political power at that time.
I just would like you to talk a little bit about, but essentially everybody kind of was just new to the country, right? I mean, you're talking about Irish and I forget the other ethnic group you mentioned, but they look down on the Italians, the Germans. But it's not like they had been setting up shop here for a long time. You know, I'm trying to say, like, so it was kind of like, I wonder why we take ourselves in this country now so seriously. Like, we used to be able to poke fun at each other's ethnicity, and maybe that was because we were all new to this country. I don't even know. I mean, to me, what I'm interested. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think this persisted even up into the 40s and the 50s. I remember being called a wop and a dago, and then people like Joe DiMaggio, Rocky Marciano, famous sports figures, they started changing the image because they were so popular and so well thought of that they started changing the image of Italian. Before that, I think people thought most Italians were in the mafia, which of course wasn't true at all. I know so many stories of hardworking Italians that came over here with basically nothing, and through their hard work and diligence prospered.
So your original name was Daryl, but you changed it to Dario. Why did you do that?
Okay, my dad, being Italian, always wanted me to be called by an Italian name. My mother chose the name Daryl. She dominated the family, and so as a gift to my dad, he asked me shortly before he died, please change your name. And after he died, I didn't have the courage to do it. Everybody knew me as Daryl. But at a certain point, I thought, I'm just going to do it. So about 8 years ago, I changed my name to honor what my dad wanted.
Dario, I want to ask you, could you talk about the process of? I've interviewed a lot of cats from your part of the, in the Napa Valley area, and they're. I just wanted you to talk about, like, the first time that if you could tell a story early on about your great grandfather taking you out into the vineyards, and having you smell that soil, that dirt, and more importantly, what made winemaking in your mind, looking back on it. I mean, I interviewed one guy. He was a cardiologist, and his name will come to me. But he's a cardiologist, and he also bought created his own winery, and he was talking about these niche wine critics that have come in now. Before it was the grower would grow the grapes, and then would let the winery know when they're ready, and they'd make a bottle of wine, and that was it. But I just wanted you to talk about sort of those nuanced qualities of winemaking that you that you picked up on from your great grandfather.
Okay, first of all, my great grandfather never had any vineyard, and probably a lot of people don't know that prior to the '06 earthquake, many of the wineries were in San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Marin. And because the roads were so bad, had you bottled the wine, say in Napa, you would. First of all, there was no bridge, and then you would have had to ferry them to San Francisco. The roads are so bad, you probably would have broken a lot of bottles, and the consumers, in any case, were in the urban areas. But my great grandfather lived to be 94, so I heard the stories, I saw the photographs. Typical Italian. They lived upstairs from where they worked, and a lot of Italians still do that today in Italy. So when they left North Beach for the Mission District, a lot of people don't realize that the Mission District now is Latino, but before it used to be Irish, German, and Italian. In any case, they built a four-story building with beautiful cellars down below, and so but they went out of business in Prohibition, and they were forced out of business. But we'd go with my parents. I was just a kid. Go visit, and as soon as the door would open, it just reeked of wine. So I got that in my mind. And then hearing the stories, seeing the photos, playing in the cellars with the barrels. I should mention too that another winery leased the building and the downstairs and ground floor to make wine, and they went out of business in 1965. So ever since I was a kid, I wanted to revive the family wine business. And, why? I don't know. It's just something I wanted to do. And I ended up going to college. I ended up living in Europe for a couple of years. And in 1973, I came back. I had no job. And I had $5,000 I'd saved up. I was always in some kind of business in school. And so I thought, what am I going to do? I was coming back from the Sierras, and of course, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to restart the family winery. Of course, talk is cheap, and I had the $5,000. Winery business is very capital intensive, and I tried to raise investors. But in 1973, economic times weren't very good. They weren't investing in General Motors, let alone some unknown guy like me. So I had a real tough time. I was so stupid. I didn't know that the University of California, Davis had done research that said to start a small winery you needed at least $1 million. I never read that research, so I thought I could do it on $100,000. And it turned out I never even raised my $100,000. I raised something like $62,500, and my brother-in-law put on the roof. He got a share. A friend of mine, Dick Gelati, he put in the foundation and a small parking lot. He got a share, and so most people come into the wine business after they've made money somewhere else, and then the maximum in the wine business, of course, is how do you make a small fortune in the wine business? Well, of course, you start with a large fortune, so you lose money. But it was, for me, it was sink or swim, and I made every phone call, collect. I didn't have a forklift. I rented my winery equipment from what was called the Home Winemaking Store in St. Helena. I mean, everybody laughed at me. Initially, I bought some bulk wine from Robert Mondavi in 1975 when he was having some economic problems. I went with my van and 3 barrels, and I made 4 trips. And the cellar workers were laughing. But I didn't have a choice. I slept on the winery floor. I did everything to make it work. I stored wine. I didn't see my living room for 7 years. I just because I stored wine there because I didn't own the property. I didn't own the building, but I was smart enough to get an option to buy it back. And today, Sattui Winery is probably the most visited winery in the country, or if it's not, it's close and doing real well. And then subsequently, I built the Castle Castello di Amorosa. Anyway, I did it the hard way, not the easy way.
Well, no, this is important. I mean, the bottom line is, isn't it fair to say that if you had actually had done any kind of academic research, it might have discouraged you altogether from ever doing it?
I failed in the sense to attract investors. For 2 years, I tried to attract investors. The only people I didn't go to were my own relatives. I was too proud to do that. I should have done that. I don't know if they would have invested in me because I was kind of a wild man in college.
Yeah, I'm sure you were out of control. Yeah, I know you were out of control in college.
In any event, somehow I succeeded. I take it when you have a dream and you're willing to pay the price, and you never give up. I mean, you're going to fail, but if you keep on it and keep after it, at some point you're going to win. And if you have some ability, and so I just kept after it, and so far we've done okay.
How? So I guess how many other people do you know that ever started a winery with $62,000? That's insane. How did?
Yeah, well, actually, I only had 8,000 of my own. I had the 5 I had, and my mother gave me 3. So then I only had a minority percentage. I was too stupid to even to grant myself a big block of stock. I don't know. Anyway, I eventually bought a bunch of people out. Well, to answer your question, I don't know many. I think most people come in with a lot of money, and and there are two types of wine people. There's the people that do it for a living, like me, and then there's a lifestyle people that want to impress their friends and drive around in a Mercedes pickup and throw dinner parties. So really, there's two types, and there are a lot of the lifestyle people that are in the wine business. It's more of a hobby.
How do you? Let me ask you. I mean, talk about how you delineate between someone who wants to make a career of it versus the lifestyle, like are they just much more shallow, or is it just more? Or do they outsource a lot of the work? What are those differences?
Yeah, I don't know that they're more shallow. I can't say that. I can't say that.
I don't mean it like that. I don't mean like shallow person. I mean like as far as like they might only be in town a few months out of the year and they just outsource the work to other people. It's more anonymous. What is the difference between?
That's absolutely true. Do you know in St. Helena, which is kind of the center of the Napa Valley, about 40% of the homes are vacant most of the year because they're second and third homes for people who are very wealthy. And I also say the wealthy have really hurt the wine business in the sense that they have so much money, price is no object for them, so they overpay for vineyard land, they overpay for wineries, so forth. And then we, the people that are the people doing it for a living, have to compete with those kind of prices. So a lot of them have no real vested interest in the community because they live somewhere else most of the year and come here for a couple months in the summer. But there's a lot of that, and I think it's really hurt.
You know, that's a really interesting point you brought up there, where money is no object, so everything's overinflated. All the costs of everything are overinflated, and then you have to keep up with that. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then when you want to buy a vineyard property, often you have to buy somebody's mega mansion, and I have a house. I don't need it, so it becomes uneconomic because and you can't split off the mansion from the property usually. So many vineyards we've tried to buy or pieces of land had somebody's $1 zillion house on it, and so we can't afford to buy them. It doesn't make any economic sense. So that way too, the wealthy destroyed the economy here.
You changed the landscape of the Napa Valley several years ago by producing premium wines at Sattui, but also creating a tourist destination and unique visitor experience. What gave you the thought to do that?
Okay, when I first started, first of all, I used my Italian background. A lot of Italians, over the years, when you have a picnic, it's outdoors, and salami and cheese and bread with wine and good company. When I went into the wine business, I didn't know how to do it. And fortunately, I think sometimes when you know how to do it and you watch what everybody else has done, you just follow everybody else, do it. To a winery, I created a deli. Initially, it was only one deli case, and I could only afford one picnic table. And I put my dad out there. He was my shill. He'd read philosophy and have a glass of wine. But initially, it was almost a joke. Not a joke to me, but I didn't have any money. I couldn't do anything. So, and then we built from there. But in any case, so I did it in a unique way. We invented direct winery sales. Now, most wineries in Napa Valley are emphasizing direct-to-consumer wine sales. We did it over 40 years ago when most people were saying no picnicking, keep off the lawn, and they were basically trying to get you to, when you went back to Chicago or New Hampshire, to think of their wine, but they weren't really making an effort to a great degree to sell you their wine directly from the winery. We changed all that. We were the second ones to have a wine club in Napa Valley. We were the first to do weddings. We innovated so many things, and because I didn't know that I shouldn't do that, and so
wow.
I think that Visatui Winery sells more wine direct. Both wineries, the Castle and Visatui, don't sell any wine through stores, restaurants, or distributors. Visatui sells more wine direct, I think, than any winery in the world.
So this is, and you're talking just direct to actual regular people.
Yeah, it's to the people who walk in, or they want it shipped to their homes or businesses. That's what we do. That's all we do.
Well, just to go a little bit deeper, what was not happening before? Just flesh it out a little bit more. When you decided to, it was the picnic model, and you took it to a little bit more formal model. Can you just explain exactly what was before you had the wine club and stuff? What was not there that was there after you started these things?
First of all, there were only 3 locations. I wanted commercial zoning because I developed a marketing plan and a business plan about 1973, 74, and we basically stuck with it more than 40 years. And I wanted to do something other people weren't doing, and I wanted to give a lot of reasons to get the cars off the highway. As you approach St. Helena, you're still going probably 50 miles an hour. So I had the picnic grounds, I had the deli, we were consumer friendly, we were dog friendly, everything I could think of to get the cars into our parking lot. And in the morning, we'd park employee cars in the lot. I'd get my dad or somebody go out there. I wanted to look like there was something going on, some action. In the afternoon, we get the employees to park in back and then free up the parking. Everything I could think of to, on a rainy day or drizzly day, I give a customer a free bottle of wine and some cardboard to sit on. Go out there and sit there, because I knew people were making split-second decisions. And the wife saying, "Well, it's probably too drizzly to sit out." So, "Oh no, there's some people there. Maybe it's not such bad weather after all. Let's turn in." In any case, I just try to use a lot of common sense, and so far it's worked pretty well.
Talking to Dario Sattui here. What an honor on the Jake Feinberg Show. What do you say to people, the independent wine growers, brash, not with a lot of equity today, and what would be your advice to them about being a startup winery in Napa today?
Okay, about 30 years ago, I guess I gave a short talk at the University of California, Davis, along with a bunch of other winery owners that had come in with a lot of money. And the audience, I don't want to brag, but the audience really responded to my speech because I was a little guy with no money that had the courage and the fortitude to start a winery. And so then Davis had me give a lecture every year, a one-day class on how to start a winery with virtually no money. And I've met so many winery owners that were inspired by my speech and without the capital to do it. And so I was pretty proud of that. And today, Napa's gotten so expensive. You can spend $1 million an acre for a vineyard in Napa. I mean, that's really on the high side, but some of the prices are that high. So, but you can start a winery, you can buy grapes, you can buy bulk wine. There's all kinds of ways to do it without a lot of money. You can do it in your garage. There's so many different ways if you really want to do it. You don't have to be a billionaire to start a small winery. And then, nothing's easy, but the easiest part is making the wine. The hard part is how do you sell the wine? There's so much competition. There's very few distributors left. They have all the power, all the leverage. So I'm so glad that we went direct to the consumer. We have our problems too, but not like a lot of wineries.
So interesting. Your Castello di Amorosa in Calistoga is hosting the 2018 Renault Society Harvest Dinner next month. I don't believe you're going to be there. How can industry professionals such as yourself contribute to people's understanding of the health benefits of moderate wine consumption?
Well, wine is so beneficial in so many ways. It's you lessen your risk of heart disease, you lessen your risk of diabetes, you lessen your risk of colon cancer. It's good. It's nourishment for the brain. You lessen your risk of dementia. It just so many. I mean, there's been study after study, medical studies that have shown that wine is really beneficial to health. It's beneficial to longevity, so forth. And so, and I think more and more the consumers are realizing this. Even in places like China, often they drink wine there not because they like it, because they think or they know that it's going to be beneficial to their health. And so I think even though there's government warnings on the backs of labels against wine drinking, I think people are more and more realizing that wine is beneficial. On the other side, more than half of American households don't even have a corkscrew. So we still have a long way to go. But I think we're made great. I remember back in the 70s and 80s, if you drank wine, it was usually sweet wine. But America's really come of age to a large degree. We've become much more sophisticated. We're making great wines now. The consumers often know quality wine, and we've come a long way in 30, 40 years in California and in the United States.
Can you talk to what would, if I was on the other side of it, saying abstinence only, no drinking at all, what would you say to me?
Well, first of all, I respect anybody who doesn't want to drink. And,
well, no, but you know what I'm getting at? No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that when the Institute of Health did that study back in the early '70s, they buried the whole thing about that wine was a big reducer of heart attacks. So there's this argument today. Well, what's moderate, and therefore abstinence only. Well, as far as, and also if you can point my audience in some direction of articles or research that backs up that it helps prevent dementia, that it helps prevent certain types of disease. I just want you to push back on this argument that abstinence is the only other way to deal, for heart.
Well, if I were to encounter a person who didn't drink wine, I might try to point out the health benefits of it. Also the fact that it's a little bit euphoric. Also the fact that in company with a good meal, the wine enhances the flavor of foods, and in turn the food brings out to a fuller extent the flavor of the wine. And I would and I've seen over and over, or even our customers progress, because we do make a few sweet wines at both wineries, from the lighter wines to a little bit sweet, and after a few years have become serious red wine drinkers. So that's probably the approach I would take with somebody who didn't imbibe.
Do you see Zinfandel as the backbone of the Sattui production? I know you have a full array of wines, but is the Zin the backbone?
We make about 5 old vine Zinfandels that are really good, and mainly from Sonoma and Napa counties, but also one from Lodi. And but we also make some really good Cabernets. Victoria's Vineyard, named after my great-grandfather, adjacent to the winery, some really good Cabernets. We have a vineyard in southern Napa County up on the hills really good Cabernet, and then and then we buy grapes from Dick Preston and Morrisoli, who are quite famous, and so we have 4 really good Cabernets as well. But reds are probably more important to us than the white wines we make.
Did the Zin really get you over the hump, though? I mean, at least early on before.
Zinfandel has less tannin. I don't know that he got us over the hump. I mean, initially, I concurrently in 1975 when we started, and then we opened to the public in March 4th, 1976. I bought some Cabernet from Robert Mondavi, and that's what we started with. And I can't say that Zinfandel got us over the hump. We've grown virtually every year, and it's what I've tried to do with Visa Tui. I've tried to have a wide variety of wines at different price points, different styles, so that everyone who comes in finds something that they like. Because if they leave and didn't buy wine, it's not their fault, it's our fault. We didn't have what they wanted in a style they wanted at a price they were willing to pay. So we've always made a wide variety of wines, and I think successfully. And again, we're selling it. Sattui is selling almost 70,000 cases a year direct.
Can you talk about the dream of this castle and how it came to fruition and how much of it you actually built with your own hands?
Okay. I had never intended to build a castle. I have an incurable disease. I love medieval architecture. I mean, it's something that it overwhelms me, and it's like a beautiful woman. You can't resist. Well, I can't resist. I'm engaged, so I'm happy. But
no, I know. I hear you about beautiful women. It's just almost impossible sometimes.
I bought an old monastery that's over 1,000 years old, and parts of it still remain the original. 25 years ago, and then subsequently, I bought a Medici Palace, and then subsequently to that, I bought into a castle hotel. I'm crazy. I'm stupid. So what happened? I love medieval architecture so much that 30, 40 years ago, I'd go. Not that long ago. When I bought the monastery 25 years ago, I'd go day after day to all these abandoned buildings, churches, palaces, castles. Always have a backpack with a camera, a tape measure, a sketch pad, and a hammer. Because if I couldn't find a way in, I'd break in. I wouldn't steal anything. I'd always nail the door back and so forth. But I was just consumed with seeing all these places. I'd measure them. I'd sketch them. I took thousands of photographs, railings, ceilings, fireplace. I don't even know why I did it. I just loved doing it. And then I found out places to get old materials and so forth, never with the intent of building the castle. Then this property came for sale where the castle is. They wanted $10 million initially. I didn't have $10 million. Then they dropped the price to $7.5, then $4.5, and then I got it quite a bit cheaper than that. But I bought it for the house. It had the house I'm sitting in right now. It's 3-story, beautiful old Victorian, built in 1877. It has a stream. It has a little lake. It has forest, and it has history. Colonel William Nash from Nashville, Tennessee. His family, after whom his Nashville's named. Anyway, it homesteaded this. So that's why I bought the property. But it also came with this great building permit that the former owner took 13 years to get. And the last public tour and tasting permit given in Napa County, 250,000 gallons of wine production and 130,000 square feet of building. I gave zero value to that. I was going to semi-retire, and I was doing well at Visa Tui and live in Europe part-time. But after a few months, I thought, well, I'll replant Nash's old vineyard and sell the grapes to Sattui. And then after a couple more months, I really love medieval architecture. I'd like to create something here on the property. I already have the permit, which I gave zero value to, and it was probably worth a lot of money, that permit. And so I started out to build it 85, for sure, about 5 years earlier. I show up 5 years later on his doorstep in the snow in February, and he comes, opens the door when I knock, and he starts laughing at me. And I said, "Why are you laughing at me?" I thought I had spinach in my face. He says, "I sent 2,000 of those brochures 5 years ago to the United States. 5 came back, wrong address, and nobody ever responded. And you here standing at my doorstep in the snow in the middle of February." So anyway, he invited me into his house. I spent 4 days. He was crazy like me. He had a whole labyrinth of medieval style rooms underneath his house. And I finally told him, "I want to build a castle." This is sometime after I bought the property where the castle is now. And he said, "A wine cellar, I can understand." He was an expert in building wine cellars. "But a castle, you're crazy, absolutely crazy." In any event, and then I met at another point a guy that I thought could build it. Again, I'm not a builder. I'm a creator. I designed most of the castle, but I'm not a builder. So I spent day after day up there with the workers, and I did help with the work. But I brought a guy from Italy to build the castle. Fritz Gruber from Austria supplied a lot of the materials and also showed us how to do all the cross vaulting and all the complex medieval building techniques that we had no idea when we started. Anyway, so it all fell together because I had this insatiable desire for knowledge of medieval buildings. And so I ended up, it didn't end up 8,500 square feet. It ended up about 150,000 square feet. So about 3.5 acres on 8 levels, 4 above ground, 4 below ground, 107 rooms, all the ideas that I researched over a period of years that without knowing that I'd ever use them, without even thinking I'd ever use them. I don't know if I answered your question well enough.
No, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, what is it, looking back on it now, what makes you most proud about, I'm actually really glad. I actually thought you built it yourself, but it's still amazing that when you look at it now.
I was in charge of it. I was there virtually every day. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and so forth and worked on the plans at night, but I did not. I'm not a builder.
Well, let me ask you, tell me a little bit about like what you continue. What are some of the priorities for you at this point? I mean, even as a master, even as somebody who's had success and overcome a lot of odds and kind of gone against the grain, what are you still learning about as it relates to winemaking?
Well, first of all, I look back. It took virtually 15 years to build the castle. I look back and I think, how did I do that? How did I persist? The county gave me so many problems, it's a few times I almost quit, but I persevered. But what I'm really most proud of, besides building the castle, and it's really authentic. I mean, people even from Europe that have seen a lot of castles, they come and they go, "Wow," because it had to be right. I mean, I didn't want it to be Disneyland. I didn't want it to be faux. It had to be right. When it wasn't, things weren't right, we tore it down and we did it again. But and we used old materials or antiques. You can't build an old-looking building with new materials. In any event, other than that, what I'm most proud of is the quality of the wines. We're getting great ratings. We just got a 97 on one of our Cabernets from Parker, and we're getting great ratings. And the wines are really good. That I'm really proud of. And I think in the beginning it was more about the castle. I spent everything I had, sold all my stuff to build that building, and I don't know why I did it. I just something inside of me made me do it. But now I'm really proud of the quality of the wines, and we're selling a tremendous amount of wine. Sattui and Castello di Amorosa are either the two most visited wineries in the United States and probably the world, or among the most visited. And we sell wine. It's not like people just come to see the castle. Jake, you there?
I'm here. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Just a real big shout out. I told you before, one of my sponsors, Dr. Ted Goldfinger. I know you're friends with him. He's a cardiologist who leads an international research group on wine and health. Has he changed your approach or perception of the wine business at all?
No, he hasn't. I've met him a couple of times. He's been to my home. I really admire him. There was a scheduling foul up for which I even offered to eat my flight, and he was gracious enough to say, no, go ahead, take your trip, and it's really my fault. And in any case, so I will not be here when he comes to the Napa Valley with his colleagues in December. But in any case, no, I can't say that he's changed my approach at all.
How do you continue to, how do you practice a healthy lifestyle at home, and do you drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine a day, and what do you usually drink?
I don't drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine a day. I drink about 2/3 of a bottle a day.
I love it, dude. Oh, man, that's great.
My fiance, Irina, who formerly didn't drink, we almost quarreled. It's not so, but now she really enjoys wine as well, especially our better reds. But my lifestyle is this. As soon as I get off the radio, your program, I'm going to go up and get on my stationary bike, and I go hard for 30 minutes. I take 2.5, 3 mile walks virtually every day. I lift weights a little bit. I'm in good shape. I'm almost 77, but I'm in good shape, and I think it's a lot easier to maintain than it is to try to lose weight or get back in shape after you've lost it. So it all emanates from sports, from high school and college, and I over the years I've kept a pretty healthy lifestyle.
Dario, I'm curious. Are you when do you come back? Are you going to be in the castle on the 15th? I know I'm going to be out in that area, and I would love to come and actually do a video interview with.
I will be. My office now is out of my home, but that's on the castle property, and you're welcome. We can have lunch, dinner together. We can do something together. It'd be my pleasure to show you around the castle or the Sattui or both.
Yeah, no, I think we can do, but I mean, you'll be back in town by the 15th or the 16th?
I believe we're coming back on the 12th. Yes, and we'll be here.
Okay. Well, listen, let me. We'll talk. I'll give you a call. I'm going to New Orleans next week on business, but when are you actually leaving town?
I believe we're leaving on the 24th of November. We've got invited to this great party in France because normally we wouldn't. Oh, I bought a castle in France too.
Oh God, you maniac, dude! All right, listen, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you early. Not next week, but the following week before you get out of town, so we can just make plans. Okay?
Okay, that would be fine, and I really appreciate you having me on your show, and so I thank you very much.
Well, this is just the beginning, man. It's I can't wait to hang again. Enjoy your bike ride and enjoy your daily 2/3 bottle of wine, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Jake, well, thank you so much for including me.
All right, Dario. I'll talk to you soon. I'll get a copy. Oh, by the way, I sent you a friend request on Facebook, so accept that request. You can see what I'm doing.
I have to be honest. I've never looked at or know how to use Facebook.
Okay, then we'll do it like this. Yeah, no problem, man. All right, Dario. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jake.
Bye, buddy. Yeah, bye-bye. Just a big thanks to Ted Goldfinger there, who's shown a lot of confidence and faith in me and connecting me with all these beautiful cats. Dario Sattui Winery continues to have a tremendous amount of success, not just monetarily, but also all the accoutrements and the castles and the gravitas. So we'll be back with drummer Lee Charlton on the other side right after this.